students. Myself Kirti, Assistant Professor in Department of Geology at Government College, Aleva. Today we will discuss about the type study Pheretima posthuma. This topic belongs to paper first of second sem, and this type study belongs to phylum Annelida. There are some important facts about this organism. An earthworm can grow so long. Lumbricus terrestris will be from 90 to 300 millimeters long. This worm has no arms, no legs, or no eyes. In 1 acre of land, there can be more than a million earthworms. The largest earthworm was found in South Africa and it was 22 feet. Charles Darwin spent 39 years in studying these earthworms. Baby worms, they are not born, or the young stages of these worms, they are not born. They will come out or hatch out from the cocoons that are smaller in size than a single grain of rice. If a worm's skin dries out, then it will considered to be dead. Worms can eat their weight each day. Then the question arises, why to study earthworms, why these are included in our syllabus, why these are so important. Ecologists, they consider the earthworms as keystone species because they can influence the physical, chemical, biological properties of the soil. They will act as recyclers, brings the nutrients to the surface, making the soil more fertile and helps in preventing flood and erosion. So these earthworms, they are important than pandas. If you want to save the planet, then you have to save the earthworm, grow more and more earthworm. First of all, we will discuss about the systematic position of this organism. It belongs to kingdom Animae, phylum Annelida, class Oligoceta. In class Oligoceta, the organisms are having a permanent clitellum, which we will discuss in the later part of this chapter. Order Terricolae, because these organisms are terrestrial and there is no asexual reproduction. Family Megascolicidae, because male gonopores behind the female gonopores. Genus Pheretima and species Posthuma. More than 3000 species are distributed worldwide and many more are yet to be discovered. 18 families of class Oligoceta are present. Out of these 18 families, in India, 7 families are found. Megascolicidae, it is largest family, and Dravida grandiensis, it is the longest earthworm found in India. Habit and habitat of this organism. These organisms are fossorial that live in most moist soil burrows, makes its burrows only in loamy and sandy soil. This type of habit provides them protection and also help in respiration indirectly. Generally, it lives in the upper layer of damp soil, which is rich in dead and decaying organic matter. In summers, when the topsoil is dry, the earthworm burrow deep into the soil. The earthworm burrows are lined by the slimy secretion of its body. They will feed on the dead organic matter present in the soil. Food and soil both are ingested by the sucking action of its mouth. Organic particles are used by the body and the rest is finally digested in the form of worm casting. Worm casting, that means fecal material of this worm. So a specific term, worm casting, is used. They possess a great power of regeneration. Hermaphrodite, which means both the male and female gonads, they are present in the same body, same organism, but the condition is proto-androus, which means firstly the organism develop into a functional male. Testes will develop earlier than the ovary, so the condition is termed as proto-androus. Direct development, because the young ones, they will come directly outside from the cocoons or hatch out from the cocoons. There is no larval stage, so the development is considered to be direct. Then we will discuss about the external morphological features. First of all, size of this organism. If we consider the size of this organism, then a fully grown mature worm measures about 3 to 5 millimeter in width and 150 millimeter in length. This organism is long, elongated, cylindrical, narrow in shape, and this type of body shape it is well suited for burrowing habit. They are bisymmetrical organism having anterior end slightly pointed whereas the posterior end slightly blunt. Color: the dorsal surface of the body is dark brown and the ventral surface is light brown. In these diagrams, dorsal view is darker and ventral view is lighter in color. On dorsal side, there is a pigment called porphyrin, and this pigment protects the animals from the harmful UV rays. Sometime in question papers, there is a question: what do you mean by porphyrin, or what is the function of porphyrin in earthworm? Then we can answer that this porphyrin is a pigment which will provide dark brown color to the organism on the dorsal surface and also protect them from the harmful UV rays. On the dorsal surface, there is a red color mid-dorsal line. Red color mid-dorsal line starts from the anterior to the posterior anus part of the body. This represents the mid-dorsal vessel, blood vessel. Head region. In head region, there are two parts, proosteum and periosteum. Proosteum, this part covers the mouth opening. In first diagram, the proosteum covering the mouth opening. In the second diagram, proosteum, it is slightly upward in position and the mouth is opened. Then the first segment of the body after proosteum, it is termed as periosteum. So periosteum and proosteum, these are the main parts of the head, or they are the main parts where the mouth is present. Then the segments are present, body segmentation is present. Body segmentation, in body segmentation, the whole body of the earthworm is divided into 100 to 120 small ring-like segments, metameres or somites, and each segment separated from each other by the distinct annular grooves or furrows called annuli. External segmentation corresponding to the internal segmentation, and this type of segmentation is called metameric segmentation. Next part is clitellum. Clitellum, it is a band-like girdle present on the body wall and about 2 centimeters behind the front end of the body. Every mature organism is having this type of glandular thickening, which is termed as clitellum. Due to presence of this clitellum, the whole body of the organism, whole body of the pheretima is divided into three parts. Preclitellar part that consists of anterior 13 segments. Clitoral part that consists of 3 segments 14th, 15th and 16th. Thus clitellum is present in 14th, 15th and 16th segment. Postcliteral region, which comprises the last 84 to 104 segments. Then we will discuss about the apertures and openings of these organisms. First of all, we discuss about mouth. In the earlier slide, I have explained proosteum and periosteum. Then spermathecal pores. Blue colored spermathecal pores are present, which are present between the junction of 5th and 6th, 6th and 7th, 7th, 8th and 8th and 9th metameres or segments. Thus these spermathecal pores, they are present from 5 to 9 segments or at the junction of 5 to 9 segmentation. These spermathecal pores, they are 4 in pairs. These spermathecal pores, they are ventrolateral in position. They lead into spermathecae and receive sperms from another worm during copulation. Then next comes dorsal pores. Dorsal pores, they are present on the dorsal side of the body and mid dorsal side of the body behind 12 segment. So these are one in each intersegmental groove. The milky secretion comes from these dorsal pores, which will keep the body wall of this organism moist for respiration. Next is female genital pore and male genital pore. Female genital pore, it is a single minute female genital pore which is located in mid ventral line of 14 segment. It is present in clitoral region. Ova are transferred into ootheca through it. Male genital pore, these are crescentic apertures which are located on the ventral side upon 18th segment. A number of nephridiophores, about 200 to 250 minute pores, they are scattered all over the surface of each segment except the first two segments. In first two segments there is no nephridiophore, but remaining bodies all having small minute pores, and these nephridiophores will act as excretory will lead excretory product out of the surface of the body. Genital papillae. Genital papillae, they are just behind the clitellum and they are present each of the 17th and 19th segment. These are small conical ventrolateral genital copulatory papillae which are present on the ventral surface of the body, and each genital papillae bears a cup-like depression which act as suckers during the copulation. So these genital papillae, they will help in copulation process. So we have two types of pores, dorsal and ventral. Dorsal pores are dorsal pores are present mid dorsal line of the body, which are appear to be red in color in this diagram, and the ventral pores are spermathecal pores, female genital pore, male genital pore, genital papillae. Anterior pore is mouth and posterior pore is anus. Next topic is the structure and arrangement of setae. Each seta is an S-shaped structure. In this diagram, dark red color S-shaped structures are shown which will come outside the epidermis. These are faint yellowish in color, pointed distal end, blunt proximal end, and a central swelling termed as nodulus of seta. About 1/3 of seta projects above the body wall, which is called neck, and the part embedded in the setal sac is the base portion of this seta. The setal sac is formed by the invaginations of epidermis in the body wall, and each seta is formed in a setal sac. One pair of protector muscles and a retractor muscles, they are associated with each setal sac, and they will support this system. A seta that wears out due to continuous use in locomotion, it is shed off and a new one is secreted in its place by the formative cell of the setal sac. In this diagram, formative cells are present at the base of these setal sac. Then two type of arrangement of these seta are present, oligocation and perication. And by the help of this type of arrangement, we can identify the type of earthworm. In oligocation arrangement, eight uh, eight seta are arranged closely or widely or in pairs. This type of arrangement is called as oligocation arrangement and it is present in Lumbricus. Second type is perication arrangement. In this arrangement, a ring of seta is arranged in the body wall around the segment. As shown in second diagram, there is a complete ring of seta present, and the example is Pheretima posthuma. This diagram will show the body wall of the earthworm. First, we will start from the lowermost layer, that is parietal peritoneum. On parietal peritoneum, circular muscle stands are present. Then longitudinal muscles, circular muscles are present. These include in the musculature of body wall. Then basement membrane. Above the basement membrane, there is epidermis. In epidermis, basal cells, supporting cells, albumin gland cells and mucus gland cells are present. Supporting cells, they will form the bulk of epidermis and they are columnar type, have nucleus at the middle and they will help in supporting the other cells. Glandular cells, that is mucus gland cells. These mucus gland cells are club shaped. They will secrete mucus. Few are goblet cells and some are albumin cells. These mucus gland cell goblet cells, they will open outside from the body wall by the help of minute pores, and from these minute pores mucus will continuously secrete from the body wall and it will keep the body wall moist and slimy. Basal cells, they are shorter, conical and lies between the spaces between the inner ends of the sporting and gland cells and they will give rise to sporting and glandular cells. On the upper side of this epidermis, there is present cuticle. Cuticle is thin, elastic, non-cellular, protective in function. It is formed of superimposed layers of collagen fibers which are secreted by underlying epidermis. That is why it is shiny and appears striated. It is having a numerous minute pores. These minute pores represent the openings of mucus gland cells and albumin gland cells. Functions of body wall. They will maintain body form due to its elasticity, protection against mechanical injury. It will secrete mucus. Sensory epidermal cells, they will serve for reception. Consist of seta, which will help in locomotion. Musculature, which will help in movement. Body wall also help in gaseous exchange or help in respiration. The clitoral gland secrete albumin, which gives nutrition for the embryos which are developing inside the cocoon. Next is coelom. These earthworms, they are having a wide fluid filled true body cavity present between body wall and alimentary canal. It is formed during the development by a split in embryonic mesoderm. So it is called schizocoelic origin. Its outer lining is called somatic or parietal layer, while the inner lining is called visceral or splanchic layer. That visceral or splanchic layer surrounds each internal organ, including the alimentary canal. And this coelom, it is partitioned into a series of coelomic chambers by the help of transverse intersegmental septa. Coelom is filled up with a fluid called coelomic fluid, and coelomic fluid is having different type of cells. First cells are called amoebocyte cells. Amoebocytes, they are irregular shaped, largest nucleated cells. Each are having a several folds on their surface. They contain a granular cytoplasm and serve to store the nutrients. Then mucocytes, they are elongated, vase-like corpuscles. Each are having a broad fan-like process attached to a narrow nucleated body. The function of these cells is unknown, still unknown. Third one is circular cells, which are about 10% of coelomic corpuscles. These are flat, nucleated, and bear a characteristic marking on their surface. They are having a clear cytoplasm. So these are called leukocytes. Their function is also uncertain. Chlorogogon cells. These are star-shaped cells and small sized. They become deep yellow when stained with the iodine solution. They are excretory in function, removing excretory products from the coelomic fluid. Sometime in examinations, these chlorogogon cells, they are asked to define in short questions. So what do you mean by chlorogogon cells, or what do you mean by yellow cells? So chlorogogon cells are also termed as yellow cells, and they are the part of coelomic fluid, and they are excretory in function, removing excretory products from the coelomic. Next one is locomotion in earthworm. This organism moves by alternate contraction and relaxation of circular and longitudinal muscles of the body wall. The seta and the coelomic fluid, they will also assist or help in the locomotion. The body of the earthworm exhibit extension, contraction and anchoring in the anterior and posterior region during the locomotion. In this diagram, A and B parts are shown. A parts, it will represent contraction of longitudinal muscles and relaxation of circular muscles. And the theta are protruded, that they are elongated or straight. B part, it will represent contraction of circular muscles and relaxation of longitudinal muscles, and the theta are in withdrawn position. So in first diagram, B, then A, then B, then A. Thus, this type of contraction, relaxation, it will follows from the posterior part to anterior part of the body, and the organism will uh, locomote. Next topic is digestive system of earthworm. The digestive system is divided into two parts, alimentary canal and digestive glands. Alimentary canal includes first part, mouth, which is crescentric aperture ventral to the proosteum, and it is situated at the anterior end of first segment. First segment is termed as periosteum. It leads into the buccal cavity, which is present in second, third, or middle of third segment. The inner lining epithelium is drawn into longitudinal folds, and a thick mass of muscle stands connects it with the body wall. Then the next part, buccal cavity, leads into the pharyngeal part, which is present in third, fourth segment. Pharynx will open into esophagus, present in fifth and seventh segment. Then it will open into gizzard, which is present in 8th, 9th segment. Then stomach, 9th or 10th, or 10th to 14th segment. Stomach will open into next part, intestine, from 15 to last segment. Anus is present in last segment. Digestive glands includes pharyngeal gland, gastric gland, intestinal glands, and intestinal ceca. In next diagram, there is a first opening, mouth. From mouth, the food comes into buccal chamber, buccal cavity, and from buccal cavity, the food particles comes into pharyngeal part, pharynx region. The pharynx is divided into two chambers. Upper chamber is called dorsal chamber, which is also called salivary chamber. This chamber is thick and highly muscular and glandular because salivary glands are present in this chamber, and the ventral chamber is termed as conducting chamber because it will act as conducting chamber in the manner that it will conduct the food in the next part of the alimentary canal, that is esophagus. This diagram is showing the TS of pharyngeal region. Upper portion having muscular vascular tissue, aggregation of pharyngeal gland cells, and lower portion is without any aggregation of gland cell, and at center there is a lumen of pharyngeal region. Pharynx will act as pumping organ or act as sucking organ, sucking of the food and pumping these food particles, food material backward into the esophagus. Next part is esophagus. Esophagus is a straight, narrow, thin-walled, long tube. It is also termed as gullet. This esophageal wall are having no glands. It is internally folded and it will extend from the fifth segment to the end of the seventh segment. After esophagus, gizzard is present. Gizzard, it is a small bulb-like oval, hard, thick-walled muscular organ, and this gizzard lying in eighth or ninth segment. The wall of gizzard is highly muscular, highly thick due to the massive circular muscle layers, and its cavity is lined by a thin cuticle which is secreted by the cell of its columnar epithelial layer. It will reduce the food particles to a fine state by the contraction of its muscular wall. Thus, the function of gizzard is to convert the food into fine particles by the help of its muscular wall. Then stomach, from the food is from the gizzard, the stomach food is transferred to the next part which is termed as stomach. In stomach, the wall is highly vascular, glandular, and internally transversely folded. This wall of stomach is relatively less muscular. There are glandular cells present in the wall of the stomach and they will secrete proteolytic enzymes. Proteolytic enzymes means the enzymes that digest the protein part of the food component. Then comes intestinal region. It is the largest and widest part of the alimentary canal and it will extend behind from the segment 15 to the end of the body. It is having beaded appearance. Its wall is thin, highly vascular and glandular. It bears several villi like internal longitudinal folds and it is divided into three parts: pre-tifsolar region, and post-tifsolar region. First of all, we will discuss about the pre-tifsolar region of the intestine. The pre-tifsolar region, it will start from the beginning of 15th segment and end up to the 26th segment. This part of villi, intestine is having villi, small hair-like projections, finger-like projections, and in the 26th segment, it will give a pair of short conical lateral outgrowth which is termed as intestinal cecum. They will run up to the 22nd or 23rd segment, and these ceca, they are like the digestive glands and they will secrete amylolytic enzymes. In other words, we can say that they will release amylase enzyme. Next region is tifsolar region. Tifsolar region extends from the 27th to the 27th up to 23rd, 25th segment in front of anus. It is highly glandular and vascular, and a median outgrowth is present in this intestinal cavity which is known as tifsole. Because of the presence of this tifsole, this region is termed as tifsolar region. It is having glandular cells which secrete a variety of digestive enzymes. Thus, both the pre-tifsolar and tifsolar parts are digestive and they are absorptive. Their surface is considerably increased by the presence of villi and they will help in the absorption of nutrients from the digested food. Then post-tifsolar region. This region is also called rectum. It lasts 23rd, 25th segment. It is internally marked by the presence of longitudinal folds, small pellets of soil containing undigested food or undigested residue of food filled the cavity of this part. Then last portion, anus, it is small slit like aperture which is present at the end of last segment which is called anal segment. Next is physiology of digestion. Food and feeding. As we discussed in the habits of this organism, it will feed upon the organic matter present in the soil and by the help of pharyngeal part, it will suck or pump these sand, dust or soil moist particles into the buccal cavity. And in digestion, the stomach will have different type of enzymes proteases, lipases, amylases, which convert proteins into amino acid, lipids into fatty acid, glycerol, carbohydrates into glucose. The digestion of food completed and absorption occurs in the intestinal part, favorably in the pre-tifsolar region and tifsolar part. Then the excreta or waste material, it will accumulate in the post-tifsolar region, and from anus it will come outside the body. Next topic is circulatory system of earthworm. As shown in this diagram, there are two colored vessels are present. On dorsal side, dorsal vessel is present and which is of red color, and on ventral side, blue colored ventral vessel is present. In dorsal vessel, blood flows from backward to forward direction, and in ventral vessel, blood flow from forward to backward direction. First of all, we will discuss about the dorsal blood vessel. Dorsal blood vessel, it is present on dorsal side. This dorsal blood vessel, it mainly collect blood from the various parts of the body. In each segment, two pairs of dorso-intestinal vessel and one pair of commissure vessel, they will open into this dorsal vessel. Then ventral vessel, it is present mid-ventrally between the alimentary canal and the nerve cord. There are having no walls, internal walls in this vessel, but in dorsal vessel internal walls are present. Because the blood flows in it from front backward direction, so there is no requirement of internal walls in ventral blood vessel. It will act as a distributing channel. Ventral blood vessel act as a distributing channel. Dorsal blood vessel act as a collecting channel. In ventral blood vessel, in each segment, three branches arise. From it, a pair of ventrotegumentary vessels, unpaired ventrointestinal vessel. It is single. Ventrotegumentary vessels are two, and ventrointestinal vessel is single and unpaired. Third, yellow colored subneural vessel is present between red and blue color. This vessel is known as subneural vessel. It is present beneath the nerve cord in the mid-ventral position and extend from 14th segment up to the posterior end of the body. It is also a collecting vessel and receives blood from the ventral nerve cord and ventral body wall by a pair of small branches. It pours its blood into dorsal blood vessel by a pair of commissural vessels in each segment. Then there is some difference in the arrangement of blood vessels in first 13 segments. As shown in diagram, in first 13 segments, lateral heart or lateral esophageal hearts are present. So beyond 13 segment, there is some different type of arrangement is present. The dorsal wall is connected to ventral wall by the help of these hearts, which are termed as lateral heart and lateral esophageal heart. Lateral hearts are present in 7th and 9th segment, whereas in 12th and 13th segment, lateral esophageal hearts are present. Lateral esophageal heart, in next diagram, lateral esophageal heart, it is having valves at its opening. Dorsal blood vessels open into it and supraesophageal vessel also opens into it. Two vessels are opening, dorsal and supraesophageal. Then this will conduct blood to ventral vessel, where opening is guarded by the help of walls. So it is called lateral esophageal heart. Next is lateral heart. In lateral heart, on above side dorsal vessel is present and on below side ventral vessel is present, and ventral vessel and this heart opening is having walls, whereas 2-3 pair of walls are present in the internal wall of the heart also. In below diagram, it is the TS through lateroesophageal heart and TS through a segment on the left and through a segment on the right. In next diagram, It will show the course of circulation of blood, that how blood is circulated between the two blood vessels from dorsal to ventral and ventral to dorsal. Then next we will explain the nervous system of earthworm. In nervous system of earthworm, three parts are present: central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and sympathetic nervous system. Central nervous system bears brain, that is the fusion of two cerebral ganglions or two suprapharyngeal ganglion. Thus in central nervous system, first part is cerebral ganglion. These cerebral ganglions, they are suprapharyngeal, which means they are present above the dorsal surface of the pharyngeal region, or they are present in the third segment in a depression between buccal cavity and pharynx. These suprapharyngeal ganglions, they will fuse to form a bilobed mass, which is oftenly called brain of this organism. Next part is circumpharyngeal connective. Circumpharyngeal connectives arise from the cerebral or suprapharyngeal ganglion and pass on either side of the pharynx downward and backward and join the subpharyngeal ganglion. Third part is subpharyngeal. These ganglions are present below the pharyngeal part or below the pharynx in the fourth segment. The two subpharyngeal ganglion are fused together so as to form a bilobed mass. Thus, three structures: cerebral ganglion, circumpharyngeal connective, and subpharyngeal ganglion. They will form a complete ring-like structure around the pharynx. Or this ring-like structure, it is having cerebral ganglion on dorsal surface and subpharyngeal ganglion on the ventral surface of the pharynx. Next part is ventral nerve cord. From the subpharyngeal ganglions on the ventral side of the body, there is a elongated nerve cord in the mid portion of the body, and this is termed as ventral nerve cord. In each segment, this ventral nerve cord is having small ganglions or small swellings, which are termed as ganglionic swellings. And from ganglionic swellings, there will be branches which innervate into each segment. Second part is peripheral nervous system. In peripheral nervous system, there are nerves that connect the brain and nerve cord with the various parts of the body. From each cerebral ganglion, 8 to 10 nerves, they will arise and they will innervate the proosteum and buccal chamber. Nerves from peripharyngeal connective supplies the periosteum and the buccal chamber, while the nerves from subpharyngeal ganglion supply to the various organs in the second, third, and fourth segment. Each segmental ganglion or each ganglion of ventral nerve cord, it will give three pairs of lateral nerves, one pair in front and two pair behind the row of setae, which innervate the gut wall and other internal organs of the segment. Third one is sympathetic nervous system. It is also termed as autonomous nervous system. This nervous system includes the nerve plexus, which are located on the alimentary canal beneath the epidermis and within the muscles of the body. These plexes, they are connected. They will form network-like structure with the peripharyngeal connectives by means of fine nerves and serve to coordinate the function of concerned organ. In next diagram, yellow colored alimentary canal is present at the center. In pharyngeal part or on the pharynx region, upper side cerebral ganglions are present and on the lower side subpharyngeal ganglion are present. So these are forming a ring-like structure around the pharyngeal region. From the ventral subpharyngeal ganglion, white color ventral nerve cord arises, and in every segment ventral nerve cord is having segmental ganglion from where three lateral nerves are arising. Similarly, cerebral ganglion are also giving some branches in the anterior part, and the subpharyngeal ganglion, they are also giving some nerves to the ventral or anterior portion of the organism. Next is sense organs of earthworm. First of all, we will discuss about the epidermal receptors. These are present in the epidermis of the earthworm, and these are small groups of narrow columnar sensory cells in the skin epidermis possessing a large basal cell. The cuticular covering of each receptor is somewhat elevated. Each sensory cell bears sensory hairs at its outer end, contains a nucleus in the middle region, and basally connected with the sensory nerve fibers. These are tactile. These receptors are tactile organs and chemoreceptor. Thus, they will act as tangoreceptors and act as chemoreceptors. Their tactile receptor is so strong that they become excited even by the vibration in the ground created by the movement of other animals in the vicinity. Second one is buccal receptors. Buccal receptors, as their name indicate, they are present in the epithelial lining of the buccal chamber. Since the earthworm ingests food particles and soil by periodically everting out their buccal chamber, the buccal receptors are obviously olfactory and gustatory. Olfactory means they are sensitive to smell, and gustatory means they are sensitive to taste. Third one is photoreceptors. Photoreceptors, they occur in deeper layer of epidermis of the dorsal skin, and they are most abundant in the skin of proosteum and periosteum. Each photoreceptor is a single large and highly specialized optic cell having a nucleus on one side and a large transparent hyaline lens on the another side. These will also act as little eyes or ocelli of the earthworm. Little eye and ocelli. This is the short question. The light sensitivity of the earthworm decreases if the proosteum is removed. Being nocturnal, earthworms avoid intense light and come out of their burrows only during the night. If during the night a beam of strong torchlight is thrown on the body of the earthworm, then it immediately retire into their burrows. Next and most important part of the earthworm, that is its excretory system. In excretory system, the excretory organs are nephridia. There are three type of nephridia: integumentary nephridia, pharyngeal nephridia, and septal nephridia. Integumentary nephridia, as their name indicates, they are present in the integument or the skin. In each segment except the first two, numerous minute integumentary nephridia are found scattered on the inner and the parietal surface of the body wall, and there are about 200 to 250 nephridia in each segment. But in the segments of clitellum, their number increases more than 2000, constituting the forest of nephridia. And these are exonephric. Exonephric. Exonephric means they will open outside the body surface. Next is pharyngeal nephridia. These nephridia are found in paired tufts in fourth, fifth, and sixth segments around the esophagus. They will resemble the septal nephridia in size and integumentary nephridia in their structure. Each tuft consists of 100 of coiled branched tubules without nephrostome. Their terminal duct of all the pharyngeal nephridia unite to form a common duct, and thus three pairs of common pharyngeal nephrial ducts are formed. The ducts of fourth and fifth segment open into pharynx, while those of sixth segment opens into the buccal cavity. Thus the pharyngeal nephridia are enteronephric, like the septal nephridia. Third and most important type of nephridia are septal nephridia. Septal nephridia, as their name indicate, they are present in the septal region and they are situated to both the faces of intersegmental septum behind the 15 segment. They are about 20 to 25 nephridia in each row, and thus there are 80 to 100 septal nephridia in each segment. A septal nephridia is having three parts. First one is nephrostome, cup-like structure. Then it will open into neck region. From neck region, uh, there is a conducting channel which is called body of nephrostome. Body of nephrostome is having a short straight lobe and a long twisted lobe. The straight lobe and long twisted lobe. The twisted lobe consists of a proximal limb and a distal limb which is spirally twisted upon each other. The proximal limb is connected with the neck and the terminal duct, and the distal limb it is connected to the terminal duct. It drains out the waste matter from the nephridia. The yellow color indicate the ciliated tract. This ciliated tract it will start from the neck region and conduct up to the last terminal part of the nephridia. This diagram is showing the structure of nephrostome. Nephrostome, it is a ciliated funnel-like proximal end of septal nephridia. It is communicating with the coelom by an elliptical aperture bounded by upper lip and lower lip. In upper lip, central cells are present, marginal cells are present. Central cells and marginal cells, they are differing in number. Central cells, they are on the above side, and marginal cells they are on the rim of the central cells. Central cells form lower lip, and 8 or 9 large marginal cells they are also present, whereas the lower lip consists of 4 or 5 marginal cells. Upper and lower lips. Upper lip is formed of large central cell, and lower lip is formed of 4 to 5 marginal cells. All the marginal cells they are covered over by the coelomic epitheliums, and all the cells are ciliated. Next and most important part of earthworm, reproductive system. As it is hermaphrodite, so both the testes and ovary they are representing in the same diagram. First of all, we will discuss about the male reproductive system because it is proto-androgen condition. Male reproductive system consists of first important part testes. There are two pair of testes present in 10th and 11th segment, and these are enclosed within the coverings testis sac. First number indicate testis sac that are light purple colored. Within the testis sac there are two pairs of testes. These testes or testis sac they will communicate with the seminal vesicles. Seminal vesicles they are indicated by second number. Then seminal vesicles they will open into spermiducal or seminal funnels. Seminal funnels, that is fifth number. Each seminal funnel uh, leads behind into a long, narrow, internally ciliated, thread-like vas deferens or sperm duct. Vas deferens is indicated by 8th number. Then it will open into blue-colored organs, which are termed as prostate gland. And these prostate glands secrete a fluid, the prostatic fluid of unknown function. From the prostate gland, where the vasa deferentia are connecting, the blue colored duct are opening. These ducts are termed as common male duct, or the terminal position of these common male duct they are having male genital pore. Okay, then next diagram it is also showing this type of arrangement. The male reproductive organs of earthworm are present in different parts or different segments of the body. This table will indicate the different segmentation and different parts of the male reproductive system. Female reproductive system include ovaries, oviducal funnels, one pair. Ovaries are present in 13 segment. Oviducal funnels are also present in 13 segment. Oviducts, one pair, 13 and 14. Female genital aperture single, 14 segments. Spermathecae, 4 pairs, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th segments ventrolaterally. In next diagram, we will discuss about the female genital part. In female genital part, the yellow color ovaries are present. From the ovaries, the eggs are inserted into the V-shaped structure, which is termed as oviducal funnel, and this oviducal funnel receives the uh, so, uh, mature eggs, and it will act as a saucer shaped structure from where oviducts are connecting and female genital pore is present. The oviducts open outside by the help of female genital pore, which is situated mid-ventrally on the 14th segment. Next structure is spermathecae. Spermatheca, they are present one pair in each of the 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th, and each spermathecae or receptacle is a flask-shaped structure. It is made up of a pear-shaped ampulla, cecum or diverticulum, and a duct on upper part, that is narrow part. This duct, it is connected to the grooves between the 5 and 6 segment, 6th and 7th segment, 7th and 8th, and 8th and 9th segment. And these diverticula, they will act as this diverticula. From this diverticula, the sperms will release outside. Another diagram is showing the structure of ovary. From the body wall, these ovary or branched finger-like projections are present, in which different developmental stages of ova are present. These finger-like projections are called ovarian lobules. During copulation, the two individuals lie in contact in opposite direction with each other by their ventral surface, in such a position that a male genital pore of one face is spermathecal pores of any pores of the other. The areas surrounding the male genital aperture are raised into papillae, which are inserted like a penis into the opposing spermathecal pore of the mate to keep them open. Now the sperms of one worm together with the secretion of prostatic gland fill the spermathecal part of the another mate, and after this mutual exchange of sperms the two worms separate. This diagram is showing the position of copulation. Cocoon formation. Cocoon formation in Pheretima has not yet been discovered. However, in other earthworm species it is known. The gland cells of clitellum of each worm produce a kind of chitinous substance which will hardens on exposure to air and forms a tough elastic girdle around the clitellum. This girdle then gradually slips forward when the worms wriggles out of it. The girdle passes over the female genital aperture. It receives its own ova, and on its way it also receives sperms stored in the spermatheca which are received from any other organism. And albuminous fluid is also deposited inside the girdle by the gland cells of anterior segment. Now the worm slowly withdraws itself from the girdle, opening due to the elasticity, closes its both ends and become a small rounded capsule. This small rounded capsule is known as cocoon or egg capsule. This type of cocoon formation, it will start in April and continues till the end of the rainy season, but most of the cocoon they are laid in the rainy season. Next process is fertilization and development. Fertilization of ova and embryonic development of zygotes occur within the cocoons. Generally, only one of the developing embryo in a cocoon achieve complete development. Other fail to do so and serve as a food for the developing embryo. Cleavage is holoblastic and unequal, and development is direct without any free larval stage. A holoblastula is formed, later a gastrula is formed by the process of invagination. In 2 or 3 weeks, A developing embryo becomes a young adult-like worm which has no clitellum. This worm hatches out from the cocoon and becomes free in the soil. In earlier slides, we have discussed that this organism possesses a large power of regeneration. In this diagram, if a earthworm is divided into three parts, head, midbase and tail, they are separated. Then each segment it will completed by the help of regenerated segments, and three new earthworms can be regenerated. Last but not least, the economic importance of these organisms. These are extremely beneficial in agriculture. They help in the following ways. They help loosen up and aerate the soil as they burrow deeply in the soil. This will help in the respiration of the roots of the plants, making them penetrate deeper and grow well. They are being used presently in the vermiculture to produce high quality manure. They are also used as bait to catch the fishes. They will keep interchanging the topsoil with the layer just below. Thereby, they are increasing the soil fertility. And the excreta of earthworm is rich in nitrogenous matter and it is required for the plant growth. Now you can answer these small questions, and these are important from the exam point of view. First, define metamerism. What are nephridiopores? What is nodulus? Yellow cells or chlorabogon cells? What do you mean by worm casting? What is oocilli? What is the function of accessory gland? Define clitellum. What is the respiratory pigment in earthworm? And define enteronephric nephridia. These are some long questions. Define nephridial system of earthworm with the help of suitable diagrams. Describe circulatory system of erythema. Explain reproductive system of earthworm. Explain the process of cocoon formation in earthworm. And describe the nervous system of pheretima. Hope you will do better with the help of my lecture. Thank you.